Good afternoon. Are we filming? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. It's Saturday afternoon. Been a busy Saturday so far. Sorry, I've got itchy eye. Bad hay fever day. So sorry if anybody's got hay fever today. I feel sorry for you. So this is probably our penultimate one. We finished off, we had the finale of The Wishing Chair yesterday. And so we're just finishing these off, finishing lockdown for...
this could be the last one because we're out of good books to read, right?
Well, it feels like it, doesn't it? We need to have a kind of good dig through. What I was thinking...
I've looked nearly every book in the
I know,
bookshelf.
but what I'm sort of thinking, I know it sounds a stupid idea, but just go with me on this, is the kind of like some of the greatest kind of picture books that we've got are Christmas books. Now, we could... Is it weird to have Christmas books tomorrow? I don't know. Let me look through and see if I can find Christmas books that aren't like really super Christmassy and just in my kind of Christmas book pile. But we got good books for today, so let's concentrate on today for the moment. We got the final of the Rabbit and Hedgehogs stories. This one's called What Do You Remember? I think if it's not called that, it's something like that. What Do You Remember? It is called that. We've got a real treat for people who have it. So one of Daddy's favourite books is a book by a gentleman called Charlie Makesy, called The Boy, the Fox, the Mole
and the Horse.
Yeah, I was going to say the piano. I don't know where I was going to get the piano from there. Yeah, but yeah,
the
you're
bear
right.
and the
It's
piano.
the horse. Maybe it's the bear and the piano, but you're right. It's the horse. So Charlie Makesy, it's just a beautiful book with beautiful words in it. It's if anybody, but it aimed at grown-ups. But prior to doing that book himself, he was an illustrator for a lady who wrote a series of books called Vicky Cowie is the lady. So we're going to do one of those. We've got another one of those, Melvin Mole. If we wanted to do that tomorrow, that's an opportunity. But obviously beautiful pictures. So anybody that's a fan of Charlie Makesy that didn't know that he was also an illustrator of children's books, that one is not available in the shops either. Strangely enough, it's only available from Vicky Cowie herself. I think is it signed by Vicky Cowie? No, it's the other one. It is. Beautiful book called The Dot. Really kind of sort of thought-provoking and yeah, lovely book there. And we've talked about this one a couple of times. We've done as a couple of the books by Rachel Bright and Jim Field. The other ones were Squirrels Who Squabbled, and we had The Lion Inside, didn't we, last week? And this one kind of finishes off that trilogy. So The Koala Who Could.
Go on about this story.
I think he's in he's in a tree and doesn't want to let go. I think is the message. So there's lots of kind of messages in all of these stories today. So what's the order we want to do them in? We've got The Koala Who Could. So Molly, work out the order of reading.
Let's do first. Let's do this one.
Margaret Whitwood.
And then, that order.
Yeah, that order. Right, okay. Let's put them in that order. And what else have we done today? Oh, it's Mummy's birthday today. It's Mummy's birthday, so Mummy's opened all of her presents. This late afternoon, you and me have just been down to order food. There's a new Mediterranean restaurant that's kind of opened up. Well, it opened up literally a week before we went into lockdown, so they haven't really had much success there, but they are doing takeaways, so we just ordered a takeaway, so we've got a big Mediterranean feast tonight.
Yeah, we've got a big the sheet, a big sheet.
Oh yes, we got that as well. Yes.
To watch a film.
Yes, we kind of thought it would be fun to really kind of. So we're going to eat in the garden. So we've got our lovely neighbours. So they're kind of coming round. So we're having dinner in the garden, all social distancing, all good. And then we thought it would be fun to get a projector and watch a film. So what's in the running? I think it's going to be Abominable. Is that the?
Yeah, Abominable, Onward.
Or Frozen 2. Was that in the charts?
Yeah, but maybe The Little Mermaid. I don't know.
Okay. I put it, but yeah, Little Mermaid. Where Emily didn't seem to be too keen on Little Mermaid. And there's a new film on Disney Plus called Artemis Fowl, based on a
Yeah, we were
based on a
gonna
fantastic
maybe
book.
watch that. It's
But you
just
thought it might be
Freya.
a bit scared for Freya. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Freya's only like 6.
This is true, and it looks like it's at 12. Right. Is it Muggleswick Wood? Muggleswick Wood. Hard to see with that writing, isn't it? Right. Beautiful pictures by Charlie Maxey. So Muggleswick Wood is the largest oak wood in the northeast of England, situated at the edge of the moors in the northern of County Durham. It boasts some stunning scenery. There's a church and the ruins of an old priory and kiln. Daddy's got the sniffs. A tired little girl climbed into her bed. "Will you tell me a story?" she wearily said. So her granny replied, "Of course I could. I'll tell you the story of Muggleswick Wood. There once was a girl with blonde hair just like yours. Her mother would ask her for help with chores. When her work was all done and her chores were complete, she'd grab her red coat and with boots on her feet, she'd shout up the stairs just as loud as she could, 'I'm going for a walk down to Muggleswick Wood.'"
This feels a bit like My Kitten Called Moonlight.
Yes, yeah, no, yeah, a little
Because
bit.
it's like telling a story.
It's not,
to
yeah,
a
it's
girl.
yes, and kind of yes, no, it is, yes, you're right, yeah, in that context, yes, it is, yeah. So off she set. She skipped and she laughed, down through the garden and onto the path. It was here she discovered that so close to home was living a rather smart bearded gnome. The little girl bent right down on her knees to inspect his red hat and his green dungarees. "It's lovely to meet you, but why are you here?" The gnome shuffled forwards, wriggling one ear. "Do you not know of my great gnomely powers? I'm here to fight Greenfly and protect the flowers." "Wow," gasped the girl, "that sounds very clever. How brave you must be to guard them. However, would you like to come with me to Muggleswick Wood?" The gnome thought for a moment, then said that he would. So off the pair went. They walked side by side, the gnome taking 2 steps to one of her strides. They hadn't gone far. A few fields had passed by when a sudden blue flash caught the little girl's eye. She and the gnome stopped and gazed at the sky. They'd spotted a beautiful blue dragonfly. It buzzed and it hummed and it span round her head. "It's a pleasure to meet you," the little girl said. The gnome asked the insect, "Why are you so busy? All this twirling around is making me dizzy." The dragonfly hummed, "I'm eating the fleas, some flies and mosquitoes and lots of midges." "Gosh," cried the gnome, "that's terribly helpful. Those small biting beasties are totally dreadful. If you fancy, we're off down to Muggleswick Wood. Please feel free to join us. It's sure to be good." The dragonfly hovered and buzzed his response, "I've got some free time. I'll come with you at once." So off the 3 went, moving all in a line, as a cool breeze was blowing in awesome sunshine. They waved at some sheep and passed high stacks of straw. Then they came to a palace with a huge wooden door. On each side of the door, ugly gargoyles were snarling. "That's not what I said. Please understand, darling." The girl looked embarrassed. The gnome shouted up, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, can I interrupt? We're off for a walk down to Muggleswick Wood. Perhaps you could join us. Fresh air might be good." They glared at each other. She started to talk. His stony face softened, and they went on the walk. So off the 5 sauntered and chatted away as they made the most of a beautiful day. They crossed an old bridge and jumped a peat bog when they heard the deep belly croak of a frog. He was having a snack on a juicy pink worm. It stuck to his tongue and went down with a squirm. "Forgive me," he chirped to the group with a gribbit. "I can't resist worms, I will freely admit. Where are you off to on such a fine day? Would you mind if I joined your group on your way?" "We're off on a trip if you feel like a hop. Muggleswick Wood will be the next stop." So off went the frog with the gargoyle pair, the dragonfly gnome and the girl with blonde hair. At last there before them the huge oak tree stood, as the sun cast its bright beams through the boughs of the wood. They skipped and they buzzed and they hopped through the trees till they came to a mushroom ring made by fairies. They couldn't believe their eyes at first glance. In the ring they were having a fairy sun dance. The frog started hopping, the girls started dancing, the gnome stamped his feet, and the gargoyles were prancing. The dragonfly looped the loop with great ease, and confetti was thrown and waltzed in the breeze. They danced till their legs, wings and feet all felt tired, then flopped on smooth stools and with wonder admired the brightest red tables with glowing white cloths. They were soon joined by fairies and a small group of moths. Some smart mice appeared with afternoon teas, the sweetest and juiciest huge blackberries. A few more moths joined, a bell started to chime, the sun cast its pink glow. What on earth is the time? The little girl saw the light fade in the sky. It was time for her friends and her to say goodbye. So they ran, flew and hopped just as fast as they could, and retraced their steps back from Muggleswick Wood. They went over the bog and the bridge, through the straw. They passed the stone palace and huge wooden door, said good night to the sheep, blew a kiss to the gnome, ran right back up the path, and at last she was home. That night in her bed she thought as she lay about all of the wonders she'd seen in that day, the new friends that she'd made, magic secrets she'd keep. She smiled as she wearily drifted to sleep. So good night, little one, someday you will see, it's not just a story, that small girl was me. So you're right, that is a little bit like the kitten called Moonlight, because that was all about her. That's sort of how that finishes, isn't it? Okay, Rabbit and Hedgehog next. We've had all the other Rabbit and Hedgehog stories over the last couple of weeks, so this is the last one of these, called What Do You Remember? It says Hedgehog wants to play a remembering game, but Rabbit thinks they will end up arguing just like last time. Rabbit, said Hedgehog, let's play remembering. I don't want to, said Rabbit. You know what always happens. Please, Rabbit, said Hedgehog. It won't happen this time, I promise. Oh, all right, said Rabbit, if you promise. Close your eyes, said Hedgehog. Rabbit closed his eyes, and Hedgehog led him away. Where do you think we are? Said Hedgehog. Rabbit twitched his nose. The air smelt damp and leafy. I think we're in the wood, he said. Open your eyes, said Hedgehog. Rabbit opened his eyes. They were in the wood.
I think that picture's on the, like, you know, the bit where it just says, not that.
Oh, in the...
Yeah. Just the...
Like the
there.
opening bit. Do you think it's that one? Oh, it is that one, yes. Your memory's amazing. June, July, September. What do you remember? Said Hedgehog. I remember... Rabbit began. You climbed onto the tree stump, said Hedgehog excitedly. You wobbled about like this. No, said Rabbit, a little hurt. I was dancing. Then you fell off, said Hedgehog. I jumped, said Rabbit. My turn, said Hedgehog. He closed his eyes. Rabbit led him out of the woods. At the top of the ridge, he stopped and placed an acorn in Hedgehog's paw. Open your eyes, he said. Say the rhyme, said Hedgehog. June, July, September. What do you remember? Said Rabbit. That's pretty. Although, I wouldn't like to be him.
Yeah.
That's a little bit scary, that, if he turns around. We each had an acorn, said Hedgehog, just like this one. We had an acorn rolling competition, he turned to Rabbit. You kept dropping yours. I was bouncing it, said Rabbit very quietly. Rabbit, said Hedgehog, that was too easy. I want another go. Hedgehog closed his eyes again. Rabbit took him down to the stepping stones. Well, said Rabbit. You've forgotten the rhyme again, said Hedgehog. June, July, September, said Rabbit rather impatiently. What do you remember? Down by the water. Hedgehog jumped onto the first stepping stone. I remember a hot, dry day, he said. The stream was low, we crossed to the island, and you nearly fell in. I didn't, said Rabbit. You tripped, said Hedgehog. I caught you. I was picking up a water snail, said Rabbit, for you. I don't remember a water snail, said Hedgehog. I dropped it, said Rabbit, when you grabbed me. Hedgehog jumped to the second stepping stone. No, no, Rabbit, he said. You've got it all wrong again. Oh, Hedgehog, said Rabbit crossly. This is what always happens when we play remembering, and you promised it wouldn't. You get all bossy and showy offy. You tell me my memories are all wrong. But they are wrong, said Hedgehog. You did trip. I did catch you. Said Rabbit. Rabbit turned his back on Hedgehog. He sat on the ground and he folded his arms. It's not my fault that you're so full of forget, said Hedgehog. I'm not listening, said Rabbit. He put his paws over his ears. He hummed. I remember everything, Hedgehog shouted. He turned and jumped to the third stepping stone and... Splash! Rabbit jumped up. Oh, Hedgehog, he said as he hurried to help him. You forgot that the third stepping stone wobbles. You're right, said Hedgehog. So I didn't remember everything after all. Hedgehog's got that long arms. They don't look like they have long arms like that. But maybe he has. I'm sorry I got cross, said Rabbit. I'm sorry I made you cross, said Hedgehog. Well, I'm sorry I make you make me cross, said Rabbit. Rabbit, said Hedgehog, can we be friends again? Of course we can, Hedgehog, said Rabbit. Best friends.
How can they hug when he's got the spiky spikes?
But he's got the prickly bits and the back. Hedgehogs are soft on the front, aren't they?
Yeah.
I guess. They look like they are. I don't know. I've never really got up close and personal with a hedgehog, so I think they're soft on one side and prickly on the other. Hedgehog, said Rabbit, there is something I really don't remember. I don't remember the first time we met. Do you? Hedgehog thought and thought and thought. He sucked his paw and scratched his head. No, Rabbit, he said at last. That is something I don't remember. I feel as if I've known you forever. Rabbit nodded. That's just how I feel, Hedgehog, he said. Forever and ever. The end. Remember that one? I love that story. Love a little bit of winter. Okay. The koala who could.
I thought that was the end then, because those books are still a bit long.
Two more. These ones are quite short. In a wonderful place, at the breaking of dawn, where the breezes were soft and the sunshine was warm, a place where the creatures ran wild and played free, a koala called Kevin clung to a tree. A nicer grey fellow you never would meet, as soft as a soft thing from ear tufts to feet. His favourite way to relax in the sun was to cling and to nap on to munch on leaf bun. He was terribly good at all these three things. Yes, Kevin was king of the staying still kings. You see, high up was safe since he liked a slow pace, while the ground down below seemed a frightening place, too fast and too loud and too big and too strange. Nope, Kevin preferred not to move, nor to change. So he clung to his tree, as he knew how to do, and he was never too keen to try anything new. So when Wombat stopped by and she shouted one day, "Hey Kevin, why don't you come down here and play?" I think, he replied, I should stay on my plant. I'm busy right now. No, I'm sorry, I can't. Why not? Cried the Roos, who liked the idea. Yeah, why? Called the Dingoes. You've nothing to fear. But Kevin, who wasn't the do things quick sort, said, I've clinging to do, but thanks for the thought. As Kevin sat watching them chatter and share, a part of him wished he could join in down there, but he knew he'd miss home in the dark and the late. That the whole thing was risky, adventure could wait. Whatever the invite, he'd always say no. Oh dear, it seemed Kevin just couldn't let go. So his life was the same, no matter the day. The weeks came and went, and the months rolled away. And Kevin stayed still while the world moved around until he awoke to a worrying sound. Tap, 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 the sound went. Well, this was a blow. Tap, tappity, tap, 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 tap. Oh no! Uncling, the crowd called. They'd gathered below. Leap and we'll catch you. Just let yourself go. But Kevin was scared. Let go. No, I shan't. I won't, clung on Kevin. Oh dear, I just can't. Woomph. Down came the tree with a cracking and pinging crash and a wallop, with Kevin still clinging. Kevin, he carefully opened one eye and looked up at the love staring down from the sky. Then one claw by one claw, he slowly unclung. He felt springy and light and happy and young. The worst he could think of had now come to pass, and he was just fine. Well, he felt quite first class. So when Wombat held out a most welcoming paw, Kevin, he didn't hold back any more. When Dingo asked, "Now, will you come out to play?" the crowd all joined in with a "What do you say?" And even though that wasn't part of his plan, Kevin replied, "Yes, I think that I can." And Kevin, from then on, was always can do. Because life can be great when you try something new. So that's all about the fact that there's times in life when you've just got to leap and see what happens. We're in kind of one of those times now.
But not like off a cliff.
Not off a cliff. Not off a cliff. You're absolutely right. Not off a cliff. Right, let's finish off today with a rather fantastic book called The Dot. I think the message in this one is very obvious. The art class was over, but Vashti sat glued to her chair. Her paper was empty. Vashti's teacher leant over the blank paper. "Ah, a polar bear in a snowstorm," she said. "Very funny," said Vashti. "I just can't draw." Her teacher smiled. "Just make a mark and see where it takes you." Vashti grabbed a felt tip pen and gave the paper a good, strong jab. There. Her teacher picked up the paper and studied it carefully. She pushed the paper towards Vashti and quietly said, "Now sign it." Vashti thought for a moment. "Well, maybe I can't draw, but I can sign my name." So she signs it, Vashti. The next week, when Vashti walked into her art class, she was surprised to see what was hanging above her teacher's desk. It was the little dot she'd drawn, her dot, all framed in swirly gold. I can make a better dot than that." She opened her never-before-used set of watercolours and set to work. Vashti painted and painted a yellow dot, a green dot, a red dot, a blue dot. The blue mixed with the red, and she discovered that she could make a purple dot. Vashti kept experimenting, lots of little dots in many colours. "If I can make little dots, I can make big dots too." Vashti splashed her colours with a bigger brush on bigger paper to make bigger dots. Vashti even made a dot by not painting a dot. There you go, she's done the outside of it, leaving the middle bit blank. At the school art show a few weeks later, Vashti's many dots made quite a splash. Vashti noticed a little boy gazing up at her. "You're a really great artist. I wish I could draw," he said. "I bet you can," said Vashti. "Me? No, not me. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler." Vashti smiled. She handed the boy a blank sheet of paper. "Show me." The boy's pencil shook as he drew his line. Vashti stared at the boy's squiggle, and then she said, "Please sign it." There you go. Dedicated to Mr. Motson, my 7th grade maths teacher, who dared me to make my mark. Is that nice?
think that's the next door neighbours.
It must
Or
be-
rain.
It must be. No, I don't think it's rain. I think it must be the bush scraping on the side of it. I think because it's quite windy, isn't it? Cool. We are done for the day. Well, we are back tomorrow for our final show, the Molly and Tim show, or Molly and Daddy show. So we'll make sure we have some. I don't know what books we're going to have yet. Don't know what books, but we'll find some good ones. Maybe even a few Christmas ones thrown in if I'm allowed to have some Christmas ones. But failing that, we will definitely come back with some tomorrow and bid you all a farewell. So let's get off and enjoy Mummy's birthday and have our dinner and film tonight. Exciting, sitting in the garden. We just want the weather to hold out. The weather forecast for the late afternoon, early evening looks a bit rubbish. So we want the wind to blow the clouds all away. So have a good day. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll say TTFN. Let me flip it round. Let's give a proper TTFN from the Squirtle. Okay, bye.